Alright, this is a tutorial. I'd like to talk a little bit on the post process, which is a very powerful way in Unreal. You can customize the look of your rendering. So first, I go to my place actors and I type post, and you can see this volume called post process volume. So for example, I want to create a volume maybe close to this inversed sphere. So I will drag it in. So see a box, right? So this box represent a zone. Once you get into the zone, you can customize some of the values in a detailed setting. So first, let's make this one really big. So I will make it really large. Okay. All right. So that's large enough. Then I'm able to do some customization in these settings. So I will show you a little bit what this will allow you to do. So first one, I want to show you the bound, which is basically an option. If you check, you can make these special effects post-processing apply to the entire scene rather than just inside this zone, this box. So you can check this option. So that's the first thing. Another thing I like to adjust, maybe I want to do, for example, temperature, and I can activate maybe the tint, and then I can make it kind of moving towards the warmer side, so you can see this kind of purple color. Or I can make it really green, depends on how you want to change the tint. Okay, I think that looks pretty cool. And also I can show you a few other settings. So besides temperature, you can also control exposure. You can just exposure. Here we go. Okay. So for example, I want to say, hey, I want to set this exposure minimum and maximum, not follow the default. Maybe I want to make the minimum as -5 instead of 10. Right, so you can actually customize, or you can do 0, right? You can see the effects will apply to this. Maybe I don't think this is significant, so maybe I will just adjust the compensation. This is a quick way. So by default compensation is 1, but I can do, I don't know, maybe 5, right? So you can see it became really bright. Maybe I want to do -1. Right, so this will become pretty dark. So this is where you can customize the look of exposure. Okay. All right, that looks really nice. Another one I can adjust is called offset. I think it's called color offset. Color, yeah, it's right here. It's in the global. So here I can check. You can also do, gamma, gain, saturation. There's many options here. So maybe I want offset RGB, right? I want to offset to red color a little bit. So I can click the drop down. I can drag it to red. So you can shift the entire thing to very red color or very bluish color, right? So this is a quick way you can change the mood of the renderings. That looks pretty nice. I can also disable this, maybe just change a little bit on the saturation. I want the saturation be lower, so drag this down. This could be black and white, right? So you have this kind of new look. So after you change all of these settings, back to bound, I will uncheck the infinite extend unbound. So it means this is now only activate within the zone. So if I play, everything looks very normal right now, but if I move closer to this trigger zone, right, as soon as I step into it, now you see all the color gonna change to this purple lower exposure scenarios, right? If I go back to the normal, now the thing looks like normal. Okay, it's just a different way. you can change the post process. Okay, repeat one more time, and this time I will create another maybe post processing zone near the dragon. So I will drag it in, drag and drop, and I will make it really large. Right, so as soon as you step into this zone with the dragon, maybe I want to see everything became red. Right, so just exaggerate that a little bit. So I will put this zone close to the dragon. Right, and then I will activate the bound for now, just to make it easier. I can see the effects. So maybe this one I just want to do the color. Right, I want to change the the offside to red. That's the only thing I want to do. Very red. Okay. Now go to the bound again. Deactivate the bound and play. So now if I get closer to the dragon, as soon as I step in, is there another dragon? I think this is, oh, there's another, wait a second. Oh, there's a two dragons, sorry. I think this is the dragon I'm looking at. Yeah, so the smaller one. Okay, so as soon as I got in, now you see that everything changed to red. Okay, I can do the first person. If I move out, it's go back to normal. Okay, go in, red, go out, normal. Okay, so think about this. I think the post process could be a pretty powerful way if you want to create a particular emotions, right, for your space. You can definitely trigger that by going into this particular zone. If you want this apply all the way, you can just simply check the bound. So that means it doesn't matter if you are in the zone or not. This, post process is extended infinite. So you can see this immediately. What happens if I just go to another bound? Okay, so these two actually overlaid on top of each other. That's kind of weird. Yeah, you got a little bit too much lower exposure, too much color. It's hard to read anymore. So probably in this case, I do want to check, uncheck the bound. So now it has boundaries. Okay, here we go. Very nice. Since we are talking about this post-processing, I do want to talk a little bit topic I think is very relevant but very important. Is sometimes we use the post-process as a way to change the rendering. So for example, if I'm using the first one, I will just check let's just check the bound. Maybe I will create another one just for the sake of demo. Okay, so I have a new bound post process right here, and I make this one as the infinite. Okay, so for this one, I do want to talk about global illumination. Okay, so this is a super important for any of you want to do real-time architectural visualization or gaming. Global illumination is the way you can get the bouncing light, right, from the sun, from the direct light. Let's make it a little bit larger. So here we have, for example, by default, the global illumination. The method is called lumen. You might wonder, what is this? In fact, if I go to the project settings, right here, and go to the rendering session, and then if you type global illumination, right, you can see by default global illumination method is lumen, but you can always turn it off if you don't need this. So lumen is really a very quick way you can create photorealistic renderings with a dynamic light. So that means light will travel across the space, is very close to the physical reality, right? However, in some situation, especially when you are in the VR, in order to help the frame rate, you probably want to turn off the global illumination. There's whole other stories, you probably have to dig into, such as how to compute the pre-compute the static lighting, how to bake the lighting into the light map, many other techniques. I maybe do that with a different tutorial. But today I just want to show you in this post-processing volume, you are able to switch the global illumination. You can turn it off from lumen to none. So what happened is, because I set this as infinite, right, in the bound, so this will actually kick in to turn off the lumen for this entire level. So if I play, you can definitely see the lighting looks a little bit harsh. It's not a lumen dynamic light anymore. You can tell this especially from this dark area. If you pay attention to the wing, it's not as photorealistic as before. But it probably helped the frame rate. So here, if I go ahead, turn on the frame per second, where is this? Stat. Here, show frame per second. Okay, so right now I have roughly 60 frames per second. But if I change this back to lumen, well, there's not much huge difference. It might be because the complexity of this thing doesn't really be a big deal. But if I turn on, turn off, pay attention to the dark side of the wing, you'll see the difference, right? With lumen, because the light is bouncing, you are able to see some of the details in the shades. But if I turn it off, if I turn on the bounce, means the lumen is off, then you don't see that details. But just to let you know, there's some necessary adjustment when you are doing the virtual reality VR. The lumen is very expensive, could cost frame rate. So in that case, you probably want to turn off the lumen. The similar argument you can do is, if I select this volume again, if I type reflections, so here you can see by default the reflection is using lumen as well. You could actually turn off the lumen to none or screen based, then you can bake the reflection using the reflection probe. So that's probably I will cover in a different tutorial. So right now you are not able to build the light, pre-compute the light, because right now this project was set up with lumen rendering. And also if you go to project settings in the rendering session, you can see there is a section called I think it's called forward rendering. Yes, forward render. So right now this one is off. You are not doing the forward shading, but when you do VR, you can actually check this option. That just make the VR a little bit easier to handle the renderings. Yeah, after you check this, another setting is called a static light. Right, probably is here, allow static light. So right now it's off. So everything is dynamic. That's how lumen handle the dynamic movable lights. But in a VR, you probably want to do static lighting. You want to bake the light into the light map. So that's a whole different technique. I will cover this in a different story. Alright, since we are not really worried too much about VR for this one, I will delete the volume 3. So everything is just lumen, high quality global illumination. Alright, I hope this tutorial helped you understand a little bit why we use post-process and what is the benefit to have this trigger in the different zones. And you can activate whenever you have the character stepped into that zone.